Coastmans Scenic Products. I'm here to give you a little tour of the shop. Come right on in. So at this end of the shop, this is where we make all of our tree trunks. So those are made from real Port Orford cedar, which we keep right here on this wall. Port Orford cedar dowels are what we start out with, and they look like this when we start. And the first step in the whole process of making a tree trunk that is actually tapered from top to bottom is to run all the dowels through this machine. So this was kind of the machine that started it all. It's the what I call the tapering machine, and it consists of a sanding belt with a very strong sandpaper here, 36 grit, and then all of these places with which to plug in all of the dowels and turn them so that they can be pressed upon and sanded all at the same time. Once dowels are sanded to the proper tapered shape, they can be run through this machine, which is a wire brush machine. There's 3 wire brushes and a way to operate it such that the tree trunk is lowered into the wire brushes and then ejected. And so this machine has been dubbed Bob Barker for obvious reasons. Tree trunks that are then provided with the correct bark detail, there we are then subsequently needed to be drilled in the base to provide a hole with which to place a pin to stand the tree and mount it upright on the layout or the diorama. So we have yet another tool that does that, and it doesn't have a name, which is okay. After that, we need to cut trees, or perhaps before, we need to cut the trees to the correct length at times. So we have a couple of different band saws. We have a larger one because sometimes we make some pretty good sized trees around here, but sometimes up to 36 inches or more. So for that, we have a machine that we use that is both a combination of a lathe and a router, and the router rides along the track of this machine, and the track can be adjusted. Its position can be precisely adjusted so that this machine both creates a large round and tapered shape at the same time. So this is great for making larger tree trunks. We have various other ways of shaping and adding detail to our trunks, including these very special grinding tools that are not to be taken lightly. And all of our materials then are stored on the shelf until they're ready to be dyed and dried. So welcome to an area I call the Hobo Kitchen, because hobo's kind of a railroad thing. So we have our oven, we have our boiling center, and several different boiling pots. We even have a 30-gallon boiling pot for when we do our special dye process on our own foliage materials, which, by the way, let it be known to the world, it is in fact very finely sifted cedar sawdust, because we have so much Port Orford cedar here in this area. It's endemic to the southern Oregon coast, and so we obtain it from mills in the area, and then we filter it through various fine filtering mesh screens, and that produces the sawdust that you see here that we can then further dye and dry, and that will become green or various different earth tones to be included with our fir tree kits, and also to help us make the fir trees that we love to produce. So moving right along, let's head on into the main body of the shop, and we'll take a look at what's in there and see if there's anything exciting. Alrighty, let's head on in and see what we find here. Okay. So this is our new facility for which we can both manufacture all of our fir trees, our fir tree kits, all of our 3D products that we make, and it's just great having this space now. I have to say, we've been in here for about a year, and things are getting a little better on the organization front. We've still got a little ways to go, but things are at a level now where we're actually able to do production here, and that's that's very heartening to me. So this is kind of a sort of a packaging, put together, multi-purpose area we have here. It looks like somebody's been working on some 3/8 inch logs that are all dyed, dried, and ready to go. So those are getting sorted, and looks like we've got some dyed trunks here as well, maybe the 9-inch type there. This is kind of a funky little machine. This is our scrap metal grinder, which is essential for making the product that we have that is called scrap metal. Over in this area here we have a region that has been kind of around for a long time. This is the green branches foliage production zone. So green branches, you know, when you order a full sheet of green branches, you're actually getting a sheet of green branches. That's hence where that term comes from. So we have various ways of layering up the green Porterford cedar sawdust, as well as white glue and various types of fibers that we use in order to make the sheet of green branches that can be used to make fir trees at home. And there's, you know, some Rube Goldberg technology here involved in doing this task at the moment, and someday this may change, but at the moment we do weigh things as precisely as we can to come up with a consistent formula on that, and that's how, in a nutshell, green branches can be produced. Follow me this way and we'll go upstairs and take a look at where everything gets stored. Alrighty, so welcome to the loft. This is where we store several of the products that we make. Some of our products are more moisture sensitive than others. This area is not super moist, but it's a good place to put things that are not critical to moisture. So we're able to keep all of our logs and all of our tree trunks in bulk up here, as well as all of our fir tree kits and our logs and our tree trunks. And like I said, everything's sort of under construction at the moment, so you'll see a lot of our cardboard boxes here and things like that, and someday hopefully this will be a little better organized, but at the moment we are up and underway, and this is how things get accomplished. So I'm very happy to have this space in this loft for hosting all of these wonderful things we get to make. Okay, well, let's head downstairs and see what else we can find. So it is important to have several areas in the shop where we can dry things that are moist and get them ready for packaging. So one such container for this sort of thing is made from this material, extruded foam, and this is where we dry our green branches material in this rack. And of course we can also dry all kinds of other things here, like our scrap metal and our sawdust and rolls and things like that. So very useful boxes with lamps for drying materials. First stop here in this first level of tech room here. This is where we make all of our fir trees, as well as produce our scrap metal auto parts. So in these little containers we have our scrap metal autos made from lead-free, low temperature melting alloys, and we have a centrifuge and metal melting pot, that sort of thing. Then we have where the trees get made. So a lot of time gets spent in this area making trees, and this is set up to make the most detailed trees we can possibly imagine. So as you know, all of our trees that are the premium types have the roots and the dead branches, and we're always searching for and looking for new kinds of fibers to use to make the most realistic branches and trees and stumps. We make a lot of stumps in this area, and so always something happening here on the table. We have a packaging center as well, so we've got to box things up and get them to you in the mail, and they've got to be packaged in such a way that they are not going to get damaged, and they're going to arrive at your house in perfect condition. So we use a lot of shredded paper, and we cut that up on the paper cutter and that is one of the methods that has become tried and true for shipping our trees. So, and of course we house a lot of trees in this area too. So there's trees all over the place. They're up in the corners, and we recently just shipped a whole bunch. So this is actually low level tree volume at the moment. Then we have a couple of devices here. This one here is like a tree incubator in a sense. It's another heating box. So this is used for trees that are drying. We'll tuck them in there and they'll be dry literally within minutes. So it's a great, very useful, sort of like the opposite of a refrigerator, I guess. And in this corner we have one of our spray booths. So this is a larger spray booth. We can do big trees in here. We're talking about spraying with matte medium and with white glue. We don't use hardly any petrochemicals in this production, but, just because it just helps us to stay safer. And so this is a very useful spot for accomplishing strengthening of tree fibers and the shapes of the trees. And yet another spray booth in this corner. Again, perhaps for smaller trees and also for doing some of the models that we make, such as the sawdust burners and adding detail to our scrap metal bins or our scrap autos. Come on in this way, we have yet another room. So this is actually a room representing the highest level of technology here at Coastmans Cleaning Products, the 3D printer model making room. So this is where we house our most delicate and most detailed models that we have, such as our sawdust burners, and we can do some photography here, and then we can make these models here as well. So we've got our make tables, we can do some packaging, and again, this is something that's been developing here for over a year, so things are still kind of in flux, still kind of figuring out how we want things to be organized and how we want them to be. But up and running nonetheless, and we're able to put together our kits and do our painting and do our cutting and our preparation and our designing of these products. And then here is where we have our 3D printers. We have 3 of the filament types, one of which is totally automated, and that helps us with the scrap metal production. And the other 2 can do a more detailed level of print that we can use for some of our more detailed kits, such as the N-scale wood chip loader. On this side, we can do some resin 3D printing, and we have a very simple resin 3D printer along with an area that we can use to clean up parts that is ventilated, and that's improving as we switch to a water-based resin at this point. So things with that are all good, and I think that kind of concludes our tour of the shop at this point. So email me if you have questions. I'm Roger with Coastmans Cleaning Products, and I hope your model making is going awesome.
I'm gonna use them rubber soles,